This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and Ustream. If you'd like to give us a call worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. To all our American listeners, all members of the X-Zone Nation, no matter where you are on this great, big, beautiful planet of ours, I wish to you and yours a very happy 4th of July weekend. And to all the members of the armed forces around the world who are protecting our way of living, our freedom, our democracy, God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for being there for us. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is a good friend of the X-Zone Nation. I've had the pleasure of knowing my next guest, for nearly 20 years now. David John Oates is his name. He's an Australian gentleman, and David has had an active career spanning 24 years, furthering the field of reverse speech as his full-time occupation. He has developed new theories and designed therapeutic and training techniques. He has published several books on reverse speech, including Beyond Backward Masking, Voices from the Unconscious, and It's Only a Metaphor, and numerous tapes and training manuals as well. He has also lectured around the world to crowds of thousands and trained hundreds of students. He also has integrated some of the first mainstream studies and presented reverse speech on hundreds of radio stations, including his own show now, the David John Oates Reverse Speech Show. And we're so happy that David is with us tonight here in the X-Zone. David, how are you, my good friend? And thank you very much for joining us all the way from your beautiful home of Australia.
Oh, you're most welcome. And thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure being on your show, Rob.
Thank you, friend. You know, we go back a number of years, David, and, you and I have seen people come and go in this industry, not only those like yourself who teach, but those in the broadcast end. And here we are 20 years later. You're still, I believe now in 27th year doing reverse speech, and we're here in our 20th year of broadcasting. And it's so good to have you with us tonight, David. And I look forward to sharing your vast experience in reverse speech when we come back from this 2-minute commercial break. David, stand by. X-Zone Nation, our very special guest and good friend this hour is David Oates. His website is www.reversespeech.com. That's www.reversespeech.com. And David and I will return, as I said, on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break. We're right here live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My name is Rob McConnell. You're in the X Zone for today, Monday, July the 5th in the year 2010. We'll be back in 2 minutes with David John Oates. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
One 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll free. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone. My special guest this hour is David John Oates, and we're talking about reverse speech, and David's website is www.reversespeech.com. David, how did you come across the reverse speech technique that you're known for worldwide?
Oh, well, I was running a halfway house for street kids in Australia back in 1983, and there was an evangelist from the United States travelling through, and he was preaching that rock and roll was the devil's music, and if you played records backwards, you could hear these hidden satanic messages. And some of the teenagers in the drop-in centre I was running were playing their records backwards, getting quite scared by what they heard, and they asked me what I thought about it, and I scoffed at the whole thing and said, oh, well, that's ridiculous. But I went home. I'm a bit of an electronics buff, so I went home that night and rewired a tape player to play in reverse and put some of the records, the tapes on that they were quoting, and I could hear the messages. I was immediately intrigued. The first thing I checked was whether the records had been tampered with, and there was no, at least in the majority of cases, there was no deliberate manipulation of the tracks. I spent the next 2 or 3 months playing my record collection backwards, or audio tape collection backwards, and then I accidentally stumbled across it in human speech a few months later. My first example I found was on Neil Armstrong as he walked on the moon, where he says in the verse, man will spacewalk. And once I found it in speech, it added a whole new dimension to this little hobby I had, because it's one thing to find it in music, but to find it in speech adds a whole new dimension to it. And I started running speech backwards, and I found these phrases about once every 30 seconds or so. They would appear in short, sharp sentences, and I was absolutely fascinated. I played them for my friends, and they could hear these examples as well. And then I wrote my theory in 1987, which I published in my first book, Beyond Backward Masking, and The theory basically states that language is bilevel, forwards as well as backwards. And as all of us are speaking, we're creating the sounds of our speech in such a way we're saying two things at once, one forwards and one backwards. So it started off by looking at backward messages in music and then progressing to speech. And then I devised my theory in '87, and I've been travelling and teaching and lecturing ever since. So that's how I got started.
Now, David, what are some of the applications that reverse speech is now being used around the world in?
Well, probably the most popular application at this stage is its use in therapy. It's absolutely brilliant in getting to the root cause of someone's problem or issue. Reverse speech is the voice of the unconscious mind, and a lot of our therapeutic issues, not only psychological but also physical as well, all happen in the unconscious. And reverse speech, tapping into the unconscious, will give us exactly what's caused this person's problem. I then use hypnosis to restructure and rewire the unconscious mind based on what reversals have told me. There are some uses in the forensic field. It's fairly limited at this stage. About half a dozen police stations have contracted various reverse speech analysts over the years. Personally, I see the application in forensics to be very, very exciting. I'm a little bit disappointed that it hasn't been picked up more by the law enforcement community, but maybe it will be in time. It's also got uses in business. I have quite a few corporate clients who consult with me when they're about to make an important decision or hiring a new company executive for something, and the reversals will tell us whether the business decision they're making is the right one or not. So virtually in any situation where you're wanting to find extra information, either forensic or therapeutic, reverse speech has got great applications. But as I say, mainly in the therapeutic field at this current time.
David, is there any scientific research going on into the reverse speech phenomenon that you've come up with?
Yeah, there's a limited amount of scientific research. Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, have done some initial testing on reverse speech. In their tests, they state in their report that the backward messages could be heard by independent people. Their criticism was that it didn't fit sound linguistic theory. But of course, reverse speech is a whole new approach to linguistics altogether, and there are no current guidelines for it to be used in. The University of California did some testing into backward tapes about 10 years ago now, and found that people could understand backward messages on an unconscious level. So that's been the two main tests that have been done at this current stage. Obviously I want to instigate more mainstream testing. We've done several blind tests, right, which show that people can hear the reversal without being prompted. So that's an important study. Obviously there's a lot more work that has to be done, but at least some initial groundwork has been laid down.
David, has there been opposition proposed to you by members of the scientific community and others who do not believe that reverse speech is real?
Yes. Certainly there's been several scathing articles written about reverse speech by the Skeptics Society, which and there's some PhDs have authored papers that you can find on the internet which debunk reverse speech. A lot of the debunking happened 10 years ago. There's been none for the last 10 years since I've been back home in Australia. But if you search the net, you'll certainly find a couple of papers that are quite scathing about reverse speech. The main objection is interesting. None of the skeptics who knock reverse speech deny the phrases can be heard, which I find very interesting. They all say, yes, these phrases exist, but it's mere coincidence and it doesn't meet sound linguistic theory. So that's where the main objections lie.
Have these skeptics ever offered to meet you and to actually see how this is done one-on-one, and or are they afraid that they will be proven to be wrong and they can't be skeptics anymore?
That's a very interesting question. No, not one has ever offered to come and see me, which has been my big disappointment. I mean, I've written to these guys and I said, look, come to my office, listen to all my tapes, see how I work. I mean, I've got 27 years of tapes now. I've got every tape I've ever recorded. I've got 300 gigs of audio files on my computer.
Cool.
And of reversals and audio that I've analysed, and they're really taken an intellectual approach based on current linguistic theory, but no, not one has offered to come and see me, even though I've extended the invitation.
You know, and I understand, David, that you're going to be coming to the United States, so they don't even have to come and see you. You can actually go and see them while you're in the States on your next tour, which I think is coming up very shortly.
That's right. We'll be touring America in September, October, and November, going all up and down the East Coast. The West Coast. Doing San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. So, I'm exhibiting at some expos, and I've got about a dozen lectures planned and workshops. If anyone's interested in attending my lectures or workshops, go to my website, reversespeech.com, and click on the latest news and updates, and you'll see a listing there of my itinerary when I come to America. So I was in America 3 years ago, but this is my second trip in 10 years. So I'm really looking forward to it. It should be great.
David, you said the east coast of the United States, and I guess being in Australia, it's rather hard because, here you are totally in the Pacific, and I guess that would be the east coast for you until you're on dry land, and then it becomes the west.
Yeah, right.
It's skeptics who do not want to confront the people that they're skeptical about, I find them very hard to deal with, and it takes away from any credibility that they have. David, like I said, I've known you now for nearly 20 years, and some of the evidence that you have is so compelling, I don't understand how anyone could deny its feasibility.
I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is a valid and real phenomena. And I'm not just going, I'm speaking from 20 years of experience in therapy. Look, I did just as an example, I did a session just last week with a lady, and I found a reversal that said, cigarettes, I love them. And I said to her, do you smoke? And she said to me, well, I'm actually trying to give up, but I can't because I love them too much. So the point I'm making is that there's hardly a week that goes by where I don't find some personal information in my clients' reversals. How can I find personal information, names of family members, unless there was something valid and real to this whole phenomenon?
It makes perfect sense to me, my friend. Hey, David, you and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation, my very special guest, is a good friend of not only the Exxon, but a good friend of mine. His name is David John Oates. His website is www.reversespeech.com. That's www.reversespeech.com. I'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the Exxon.
This is the Exxon Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
X-Zone Nation, my very special guest this hour is David John Oates. We're talking about reverse speech, and he's known worldwide for his research and work over the past 27 years in reverse speech. His website is www.reversespeech.com, and if you're listening to us in the great United States of America, David will be coming over into the States later on this year. For more information on where he'll be speaking and how you can actually attend one of the lectures or seminars that David will be giving, visit his website once again at reversespeech.com. David, as always, one of the most interesting parts of the conversations that I have with you on air are some of the clips that you play for us here, proving that there's more to reverse speech than a lot of people would ever imagine. And do you have any clips lined up for us, David?
Yes, I do. I thought I might briefly look at Joran van der Sloot.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
for those who aren't familiar with Joran van der Sloot, he's just recently charged with murder of a Peruvian woman. He's also the key suspect in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway on the island of Aruba.
Yeah.
And the clip I've got for you is a TV interview he conducted talking about Natalie Holloway. So this is 4 years old. So let's run the clip forward first.
Because they haven't had a driver's license, but not all of them.
Oh, he said some kids don't have a driver's license, and he says in reverse, "What a murder!"
All on murder. All on murder. All on murder.
I'm sure you agree. That's quite a clear reversal.
That is crystal clear, yes.
Crystal clear. And here's another one talking about Natalie Holloway. Let's run it forward.
That will clear me. That's the one to clear anyone else involved with it that doesn't deserve to be.
Talking about having his name cleared, and backwards he says, "Dead near the water."
Left near the water. Left near the water. Left near the water.
Now, Natalie Holloway, the last time Natalie Holloway was seen was on a beach with Joran van der Sloot, and so dead near the water. Interestingly enough, there was actually a sting operation conducted in Holland 2 years ago, and with reporters who were secretly taping Joran van der Sloot, and in there he admitted that Natalie Holloway had died, and he had dumped her body at sea. Now, the Aruban authorities didn't investigate that any further. Why that is so, I have absolutely no idea. But certainly, based on all the reversals that I found on Joran van der Sloot, he was clearly involved in the death of Natalie Holloway. And of course, now with his second murder under his belt, he's officially a serial killer.
Unbelievable, David. Over the years, I'm sure you've been asked this question, but what is the youngest age a person can actually detect reverse speech nuances?
Right. Well, we're hearing reversals in young children from as early as 4 months of age. They start off by pronouncing single words in reverse first, and then as they get older, the words get a little bit more complex. The reverse sentences get more complex. Here's a 4-month-old child. Let's just run this clip forwards. Just normal baby cries. I'm sure all parents will know that sound, and I'm going to run it backwards. You hear a little bit of gibberish, and it's very clear hello right at the very end.
Oh my
You hear that there right at the end? Isn't that
Certainly
amazing?
did.
That's for 4 months of age.
My
Let's run
goodness.
that again.
Oh my
It's
God!
an amazing reversal. I love that one.
It certainly is. David, when you're, how do you pick the reversals that you're going to analyze?
Oh, how do I pick the reversals or the audio files?
Well, how do you pick which? For example, if you're listening to an interview with, let's say, President Obama, and the interview is anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes long, how do you focus in on a certain specific part of the interview that you actually want to do a reversal, or do you just do the entire interview backwards?
I do the entire interview backwards. A 30-minute Obama speech will take me about 3 hours to analyse. It's a actually no, less than that, probably closer to 2 hours. It's a fairly time-intensive task, finding reversals. It's simply a matter of having your headphones on and going through the tape step by step. I play 10 seconds forwards and then run it backwards, and then I move on to the next 10 seconds and run it backwards. So I'm just moving through the tape step by step, section by section. So I don't necessarily zero in on any one part. I just take the whole tape as a whole. You know, if it's a State of the Union, you've got an hour of reversing to do, which would take 4 or 5 hours to analyse. The analysis time, and let me rephrase that. It's a very time-intensive task. You've really got to be focused in, and you've got to be willing to spend the time. And that the time length that it takes to find reversals is what has discouraged a lot of students over the years. A lot of people don't understand or realise the intensity of the task in finding reversals. You've got to be patient, you've got to be dedicated, you've got to be motivated. And it's a slow, painstaking job finding reversals.
I know over the years that you have developed software that is now being used by yourself and by your students. Is there preparation, or is there plans being made for the future where the software will actually have the ability to recognize certain phrases?
Speech recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, we've experimented with speech recognition, with reverse speech, and we've had no success. See, the trouble is, speech recognition, look, whilst it's improving all the time, but you still got to train the software to recognise the voice, and when you're running tapes backwards, the voice tone sounds different than what it does in forward speech. Our results so far have been disappointing, but I'm sure as technology improves, as speech recognition software improves, we'll have more success. But currently, it's been disappointing. But the software we've got now speeds up analysis time very, very quickly. It's cut my time from 3 hours with 30-minute tape down to about 2. So the analysis time has been sped up, but at this stage, voice recognition experimentation has not been hopeful at this current time.
You know, we were talking about President Obama a few minutes ago. Have you done any reverse speech on President Obama that you can share with us?
Yeah, actually, I've got a couple from. He gave a speech on June the 15th talking about the oil spill in the Gulf.
Yes.
And here he is talking about the cleanup efforts. Let's run this forward.
Tonight, I'd like to lay out for you what our battle plan is going forward. What we're doing to clean up the oil, what we're doing to help our neighbors in the Gulf.
And when he says what we're doing to clean up the oil, he says in the verse, "You'll fail." Here we go.
You'll fail. You'll fail. You'll fail.
So we can assume from that he's going to have problems. It's a big job he's got, and he's not going to be totally successful. It's a bit of an ominous reversal, especially for those living in the Gulf. And here's what I found on the same speech that talks about his Christian faith, which this reversal took me by surprise. Let's run this one forward.
The same thing was said about our ability to harness the science and technology to land a man safely on the surface of the moon.
And here he says, "The Lord God I bless."
Have you Lord God I bless? Have you Lord God I bless?
Have you worked right out with us?
Now, I'm playing those at 3 different speeds.
Yes.
For those of you who haven't caught on to the fact that's what I'm doing, just know to hear a little bit faster. So that speaks to his professed Christian faith. So well, there we go. That's a nice one on Obama. So one nice one and one bad one. So you'll fail.
Now, David, does reverse speech work in all languages?
We believe it does. I've trained bilingual students in German, French, and Spanish so far, and they are all finding reversals in their native language. So one would presume, if this is a natural function of language, which I claim it is,
Yes.
then one's going to assume that it's going to occur in whatever language is being spoken at the time. One of the interesting things with bilingual people is you can get reversals in both languages, depending, no matter what language they're speaking forwards. Like someone who can speak both German and English, even though they're speaking German, you may still find English reversals, which I find quite fascinating.
Now, has there ever been a time, David, when you're doing your reversal analysis and that something has just blown you out of the water, something you didn't expect, something out of left field?
Oh, well, the one I just played, The Lord God I Bless, that totally took me by surprise. Some of the metaphors really take me by surprise. Reverse speech is very metaphoric in nature, and I always get very excited when I find the metaphors. I remember there's also one that really blew me away just a few months ago. It's a lady I was working on with cancer, and she, when was playing the tape back in reverse, she quite clearly gave a cure for the cancer. She said, maggots will cure my cancer. And she had open sores on her body. And we didn't actually put maggots on her body. We did it under hypnosis. I imagined that she had maggots eating the cancerous sores. And this woman now, after session work for 10 months, all her tumours have completely faded away. And we did that through creative visualization. I remember a reversal that really blew me away, and that was on convicted murderer Scott Peterson. Let me see if I can pull that one up quick. And a reporter asked him, "Did you murder your wife?" Let's play this example.
Did you murder your wife? No, I did not.
And backwards he says, "Neck, I hit hard."
Neck, I hit hard. Neck, I hit hard.
That one blew me away when I found that, because it's almost like a direct answer to the question, did you murder your wife? He said, no, I did not. But at the same time, he flashed it to the crime scene in his mind. And ironically enough, when his wife's body was found, she was decapitated. So he really did hit her hard on the back of the neck. And he's now sitting on death row in California. So.
David, I know that you've taught students around the world how to do your reverse speech analysis. How long does it take for someone to learn the basic fundamentals, and how long would it take them to become proficient enough that they could actually go out and use what they've learned to assist law enforcement as well as people who need to know the truth, the inside truth?
Right. Well, my course is in 3 parts. Part 1 is 6 months long, and that teaches them the basics of reverse speech, how to find basic, simple reversals. However, to reach full proficiency, it takes me probably 2 years to train someone to the level where they can hear all the reversals accurately, come to accurate conclusions. So you can reach a basic, simple proficiency in 6 months, but to be very good at it, it takes me 2 years to train someone to that level. And, I've had quite a few students go through the whole 2-year course and are now out in the field using reverse speech as their sole form of income. So I'm very pleased about that people have actually been able to make a living out of it once they've gone through the training program.
One quick question before we go to our next break, David, which is in about a minute from now. When you're setting up an interview where you're going to be using reverse speech as a form of what's the word I'm looking for here, as a form of verification. Is there a set way that you do the questioning, or is it just as you and I are talking now?
Well, that's very interesting. Well, for a start, you've got to keep the conversation very casual and relaxed, like we're talking now. If someone gets into their story or a script, the reversals drop fairly dramatically. Reverse speech is coming from the right brain hemisphere, so you've got to keep the conversation lively and spontaneous, and even with a bit of emotion into it as well, and that will get you good reversals. I use NLP techniques, certain emphasis on certain words at times to elicit reversals, and there's certain specific questioning techniques that I teach in my training classes. So.
Stand by, my friend. We've got to take our final break for this hour. X-Zone Nation, our special guest this hour is my good friend David John Oates. www.reversespeech.com. When we come back, we'll be talking to David about his tour that's coming up here in America. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Don't go away.
18 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. David John Oates is our very special guest this hour, www.reversespeech.com. That's www.reversespeech.com. David, you're coming here to America. You're going to be doing lectures on, I believe it's the East Coast of the United States, and all this information where people can join you for your lectures and seminars are on your website at www.reversespeech.com. How long are you going to be in America, David?
I'm going to be here for 2.5 months, and it's actually the West Coast. I misspoke.
Oh.
The West Coast I'm touring. Yeah. So I'm going to be here for 2.5 months, and I'm busy every weekend, except for the last weekend. So if there's anyone in America who wants me to come to their town, I've got one weekend free. But I'm really looking forward to it. I love America. Like, I lived there for 10 years, as you know, and it's always good to come back and to see my old friends. And but the lecture tour is shaping up really, really well. We've got a lot of people who have expressed a lot of interest. I'm expecting the lectures and workshops to be packed out, quite frankly. So,
Excellent.
So it should be good.
David, after listening to the clips that we've heard tonight on the show, and as I've known you for so many years, it still boggles my imagination that law enforcement does not embrace reverse speech more.
Yeah, that's been my biggest mystery. I mean, they use psychics.
Yeah.
And, I think reverse speech is more reliable than psychics, unless you're a good one. There are a few good ones out there, but it's the applications are just stunning. I remember in a case I worked on with the Australian police, reversals gave the location of a murder weapon that they were seeking, hidden in the cellar of the house. Reversal said the police got a search warrant and searched the cellar and found the murder weapon exactly where the reversal said it would be. I mean, you can't use reverse speech in a court of law, nor do I think you should. But certainly as an investigative tool,
yes,
to lead the police to evidence that they're seeking, it's unsurpassed. It leaves a polygraph for dead. Polygraph can't tell you where the murder weapon is hidden, but reverse speech can.
And even polygraphs aren't admissible in most of the states anymore. So
No,
there you go.
they're not. No.
David, as always, whenever you're with us, time flies by so fast, my friend. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, David. I wish you much success. Lord knows you worked hard to get where you are, and I can just see you going further and further and further as this amazing technique of reverse speech gets the recognition and credibility that it duly deserves worldwide. David, let our listeners know how they can find out more about you.
You can go to reversespeech.com, www.reversespeech.com. You can also call our main office in America, and I'm just trying to get that phone number up right now. And the phone number to call America is area code 503-919-3752. That's 503-919-3752, and that's my office, which is located in Portland, Oregon.
David John Oates, great talking to you. Look forward to the next time you join us here in the X Zone. But until then, my friend, stay safe and regards to your family.
Thank you very much, and you too. Bye-bye.
David John Oates, www.reversespeech.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and Ustream. Don't go away.